What is up, guys? My name is Kristen.
My name is Sarah.
And welcome back to the Red Rum and Red Wine podcast. Let's get into my story. Really great timing for me to hold off my case. It is the next case that I'm doing, I've been talking about it for some time. It's pretty hard, and it is going to take a lot out of American society, so I wanted to take a break and do something a little spooky-ooky before I step into that nonsense.
I thought you were saying this.
It's not coming. It's like not coming this episode. Like, no, we're not.
Do
the
I
world.
need to get another bottle of wine right now?
No, the world is not ready, and frankly, I'm not ready. It's a big, thick mama. We're gonna get into it. But yeah, no, I decided to steer clear of that to give us a little bit of a break and talk about something spooky-ooky. So it's gonna be good. This is actually inspiration from And That's Why We Drink episode, like one of their very first ones, like season 1 episode, whatever. I think it was episode, I did listen to it honestly before writing notes. It was like episode 12 or something like that.
You better source it, bitch.
I know. I'll leave it in the comment notes, baby, but definitely check it out. Em and Christine do such a great job. It's literally, they were the inspiration that led me to making a podcast of my own. They do not.
Same. She's not just speaking for her.
No, it's for both of us. We like went to a live show with them and like watched them together. It was so great.
Not with them, but for them.
For them, yeah. They don't like trust me. They don't need the promo. We are solely just doing this to inflate ourselves, our higher vibrations, make us seem more popular. But yeah, I did get this story from M And That's Why We Drink. So thank you so much, M, for the story and all the hard work that you did. Really do appreciate it. It did help me when I was like going through my notes and whatnot. But yeah, for today, in my case, I'm going to be talking about a cursed chair. And it just so happens to be called Busby's first chair. You know me and last names. I'm probably saying it wrong. But this Busby cursed chair was said to belong to a man named Thomas Busby. And not gonna lie, he was a man that in many articles was found to like an odd drink or 5, as it was said. He was the town's alcoholic, for sure. His favorite pastime was sitting in his favorite pub chair in North Yorkshire, in the United Kingdom, the UK, Europe. No, I did send you a photo, but it is a dark wooden chair that when I first glanced at it, it reminds me of like the antique chairs that your grandparents would have when you would go over.
Right. Yes.
Like at their 100%. Dining table.
My grandmother had one exactly like it.
My mama had one, but it was like a very light shade because they were in South Carolina and it was like beachy themed.
No, yeah, my Omi, it was dark wood, yeah.
But at the end of this episode, this chair ends up killing more people than like most serial killers that we end up talking about would. 63 was the average that most articles gave me. But there was one that gave a average of 200 if you really want to like spook your friends out and like give them an extravagant number. But for the realistically within this quote unquote curse, it was like 63 people that died.
Wow.
Still a lot.
From a chair?
From a chair. A wooden chair. A wooden grandma chair. So It was also said that this chair kind of like haunted the fuck out of you. So like right before this chair killed you, it was said that people would experience extreme itching and paranoia. And some would even report having weird messages appear on their mirror or like on the wall right before they died. I know, like, I re-listened to the episode of And That's Why We Drink right before telling this, and M. Schultz had even said, like, there was one where it was like, stay away, or like, beware.
No.
And it's written in like the fog of your shower mirror as soon as you get out. I'm just like, immediately burning the house down, taking the guilt plea for arson, and just going to jail where I know I'm safe.
Ugh.
Until I get shanked
I don't
and
know.
die.
I
and
want
become
to
a
ask a few
statistic.
questions first, but
No.
that's just me.
Now, back to the owner of the chair, Thomas Busby. He was known in the town as being quite a petty thief, if you would, and also someone who would let their temper get the best of them. And this is actually what would be the eventual downfall of Thomas Busby. Now, it all started during the summer of 1702 when a man by the name of Daniel Oddie decided to take a seat in Mr. Thomas's chair. Now, Daniel Oddie actually knew Thomas and was quite close with him, considering that, you know, he was Thomas's father-in-law and that Thomas had married Daniel's daughter, Elizabeth. They were more than like son and father-in-law. Daniel did own a place called Donati Hall, which was actually said to be named after him because it's kind of like a mash of Daniel and Audie, Donati. And he bought this place. It was like a few miles off of the village Kirby Wisk, which this basically takes place in North Yorkshire. I don't know how to properly pronounce it, but it basically takes place in England. But this village, Kirby Wisk, is often talked about a lot. I did see on a map where this place was, but I'm going to be honest, I'm not the best with directions. So, like, I'm just, like, not the source to go to.
I can contest to that.
Yeah, like, you're best just looking it up on its own if you want, like, the exact geographical location, but all I know is for sure it's in the United Kingdom, so, like, start there. But when Daniel makes this Donati Hall place in Yorkshire, New England, it is basically a house where he runs all of the illegal activities in, because Daniel is not like #1 dad of the year, I guess you would say, or at least like he was #1 criminal dad of the year if he was a good dad, because Daniel had a very lucrative business. Most would call him a coin forger, but he really forged anything that I think he could get his hands on and successfully forge. So he just like made a lot of money faking shit, and
he sounded like he had street smarts, which is it's great. Like, I mean, for, you know,
times were hard back then. You gotta do what you gotta do. So he was just ahead of his time, and he thought, well, I could either work really hard and make not a lot of money, or I could get really good at crafting coin and I could make a shit ton of money. And I mean, please, I'm not suggesting that you do this. It's very illegal, and like you don't do this, but
disclaimer.
Times were tough, and that's what Daniel wanted to do. And so Daniel did it, and it gets very confusing. By no means did I think Daniel liked Thomas. I don't know if it was so much as like, Elizabeth went to him and was like, Dad, well, I love him and you just have to accept him. And then he kind of went into the business from there. Or if maybe he seemed like a good guy, because, you know, sometimes guys like to do that. They like to, like, pretend for a month or two that they're all nice and dandy. And then when they get what they want, the true colors start to show. So it's kind of, like, unknown how exactly it happens. But at some point, Daniel realizes that his daughter is about to marry the biggest piece of shit. He's an alcoholic. He doesn't really know what the fuck he's doing in life, and all he does is drink. And, like, rumor has it he goes to Thomas to talk about how he doesn't want him marrying his daughter, Elizabeth. Or it's like, maybe I don't want you being business partners, because maybe Thomas was like, didn't think he was getting big enough of a cut. Or the main rumor is that Daniel was sitting in Thomas Busby's chair and he got really pissed off. But either way, the summer of 1702, a big argument breaks down between Daniel and Thomas, and Daniel would leave to go to his home over at Donati Hall, or whatever his name is, blended together. And Thomas would decide, no, the argument's not done. I'm not done fighting with you. We're gonna continue to tough it out. And by toughing it out, I mean Thomas would take a hammer, go to the Donati Hall, and bludgeon his father-in-law's skull in, thereby killing him. Yeah, very violently. After this, he would take the body into the woods, where it would be discovered, like, the very next day. He was drunk, so he did a very terrible job of covering the body. Was found the very next day, and police automatically were like, you're the last person that was seen with him. Everyone is saying that y'all were arguing. Like, it looks like you did it. And when they did their investigative work, however they did it back in the day, they discovered, Thomas Busby is guilty of murder. And for this, he is getting sent to the gallows. The stories really differ. I don't know if he was in jail the whole time. Some stories made it seem like they pulled him straight out of the pub from his favorite chair, whereas other stories really made it seem like on his way to the gallows, he asked if he could stop by the pub. But either way, he would stop by the pub one last time, sit in his favorite chair, and once he had to be dragged out, he would look at everyone around in the room and state, "Death shall come swiftly to anyone that dares sit in this chair."
Ooh. Ooh.
And after this, Thomas Busby would be led to the gallows, where ultimately he would die from hanging. Thomas's wife, Elizabeth, you know, Daniel's daughter, Elizabeth, really didn't seem that saddened by the death of either her husband. I don't know if they were married at that point. Some articles say, like, they were arguing that they were about to get married or whatnot, like fiance, husband, I don't know. But either way, she wasn't, like, really saddened by the loss of her fiance/husband or her father. In fact, it was not long after the death of Thomas that Elizabeth would actually use the story of him bragging about cursing this chair to attract customers to the inn, which Thomas and Elizabeth had actually lived in before his death.
Oh.
So she used basically the fact that her fiance/husband died there, along with the fact that, like, when I say died there, I mean, like, he did die there. So Thomas was actually hung from what was described as a gibbet that was attached to the inn. Now, I know you're giving me that confused look, Sarah, because you're like, well, what the fuck is a gibbet? Well, I had the misfortune of looking it up, so now you have the misfortune of me telling you what it means. Because back in the day, we used to do, I guess, a more common practice of taking a body after it was hung and hang it in a public place in order for people to see this body essentially rot in real time in order to deter criminals from doing the same thing. You would see it in Pirates of the Caribbean. That's the first time I was introduced to gibbeting, I think.
No, same. And then Game of Thrones, for sure.
Yeah, that too. It was said that in order to preserve Thomas's corpse to help with the gibbeting process, they would dip his body in tar after it was hung initially. And then put it in an iron frame and then hang it right by the inn where he lived with his fiance. And then the fiance took this information probably like once the cage was taken away and people forgot. She decided, no, y'all need to remember. And so I don't know if, she renamed it. I'm just so shocked that she was cool with it. But she would try to get business, and ultimately, I don't know if it was by her, but by someone, it would be renamed the Busby Stoop Inn just a couple of years after this event happened.
Oh.
I'm really not gonna lie. There's a big time gap. Thomas Busby was said to be killed in 1702. The first known incident, written record of any death that is said to come after sitting on the said chair comes in 1894. It is a huge, it's a big gap. It's eyebrow raising, if anything. There were definitely stories where I heard of friends daring people to sit on this chair, or other just random passerbys coming in and sitting on this chair and then misfortunes happening to them. It's hard to get an exact date. It is hard to know if it happened before this, but one common thing that is said throughout all of these articles is that the first known event, the first known victim that this chair takes is in 1894, which I think is very interesting. And when I say something at the very end of this episode, you may find it a little bit more interesting. But the first victim was said to be a chimney sweeper whose name is lost in the retelling of his death. Apparently, he was needing some refreshments at the time and decided to sit in the chair whilst having a drink with a friend. I guess he had very many drinks because this chimney sweeper got very drunk. And it was rumored to say that he got so drunk during that night that he couldn't make it home. And instead of making better accommodations for himself, he basically decided to lay on the side of the street and sleep it off.
If you're a guy, that sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, no problems to really worry about, unless you're this guy, because the following morning his body would be found hung in front of the post. It's described as a gate post. And this gate post was said to not be that far off from the gibbet that was used to hang Busby's corpse.
Yeah.
Now, there was one guy, and he was I guess some renowned UK guy who was really smart and came in and said, oh, this is a obvious suicide. And there were supposedly rumors that, this was a really depressed chimney sweeper on our hands. He was very sad, and he had reasons as to maybe why he would want to commit suicide. But I did find in one article that in 1914, that friend that he was sitting at the inn with drinking refreshments with would later state on his deathbed and confess that he actually was the one that murdered and robbed his friend, and then later hung his body up on the gallows to kind of like make it look like a suicide.
Yikes.
Regardless of what really happened that night, though, whispers of the cursed chair would begin to flourish within the town. During World War II, Busby's stoop stood right across the road from an airfield that was actually built for the Royal Canadian Air Force at the time. And since Busby Stoop Inn was right across from this Air Force, soldiers very frequently entered this little inn. Now, once the soldiers found out about this curse, many of them would dare one another, like, oh, you're a pussy, but you won't sit in this chair. Well, if any of them did, it was said that none of them would come back home from the war. M. Schultz would say about 15 soldiers in total, but like unknown. Roughly about 15 were dared to, I guess, sit in the chair, and they did, and then they didn't come back. But it was basically said that any soldier that sat in this chair was a soldier that did not come back.
Oh, fuck.
In 1968, 2 airmen would even come in and dare each other to sit in Busby's chair. Both of them ended up doing it, trying to have a good laugh about it. But once they got back into their car, as the 2 were driving back home from the inn, the car would veer off the road and end up hitting a tree. And both of them would end up dying on their way to the hospital.
Oh my God. The coincidental circumstance of these situations.
It gets
it's even... a little odd, okay?
It gets bad. M did talk about how 2 men would also go in and dare each other to sit in, but they were both kind of like too chicken shit to do it. So one would basically like hover his ass over the seat while the other was like, I'm just going to touch it. And so he like touched it. Both of them ended up dying. It was said that one would get run over by a car while the other fell off of a train.
Fell off of a train?
I don't even know how you do it, but they fell off of a train. I don't know if it was running. I don't know if it was standing. I don't know if he like got pushed in front of a train and maybe the train ran over him. All I know is train is his cause of death.
All I know is goosies.
And it just gets worse.
And they just keep coming and getting worse.
Yeah, 63 total. So it's like, we don't have a total number of like motorcyclists or bikers, but quite a lot were said to have gone into this pub just trying to have a simple refreshment. Like, I don't even know if they like sat in the chair or not, because there was like argument that, okay, well, it's just like, you know, they're coming from a pub, they're going to be drunk. Of course, some people naturally are going to die, which I mean, like, yes, I guess. But in this amount, I don't think so. 63 is kind of too much for me.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Any of the motorcyclists or bicyclists blah, 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 that were said to go in were said to, you know, probably get hit by a car or something if they did happen to sit in the chair. There was one hitchhiker that stopped in for a drink and, not knowing that this chair was cursed, would sit in it, and he would be hit and killed by a car 2 days later.
Oh.
A local man in his 30s, I guess he knew about the curse and just didn't give a fuck, but he decided to sit in the chair, and then the night after would die of a massive heart attack in his 30s.
Oh.
Kind of odd.
Yeah.
Not regular.
Not normal.
Not regular at all. There was also said to be a roofer that would go in for lunch one day, And again, I don't know why they don't put up a sign for this chair, but he did not know about the curse, and so he just decided, this looks like a comfy chair, I'm gonna sit in it.
Oh, shit, let me take 5.
Once he did that, he would immediately go back to work, where he would fall through the roof and die.
Oh, no. Okay, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. A group of builders would go into the inn to have lunch after, working hard on the job. And they would dare the youngest coworker to go ahead and sit in the chair. The younger coworker would agree, wanting to probably entertain the group, get a good laugh out of it.
It's called hazing.
And once they got back onto the job site, the young man would end up very similarly to what I just said, falling through the roof. But unlike the last tale, this guy met a concrete ground at the end. So immediately killed.
Yeah, well, at least it was immediately.
Yeah.
Like, opposed to the last guy, like, what? He was not as
suffering
badly.
For a little. Yeah, it's just none of it is. It was when this guy died. I mean, it's very. You hear it and you're just like, ugh, why? And that is exactly what the owner at the time, Tony Earnshaw, thought. He was like, I'm done with this. Everyone who ends up sitting on this chair, whether I believe in it or not, just ends up dying. And I'm not here for it. I'm not about it. Sure, this is what this pub is named after, but I don't care about the publicity anymore. I am going to put this in the basement of the store, of the pub. It's going to be locked up. No one's butt is going to be allowed to touch this chair. I'm kind of done with the deaths going on. And so that's exactly what he did. Tony put it.
Hey, Zach Baggins. Will you buy this chair from me?
Zach Bagel Bites? No, he may have been. I get into that later. That's so funny that you mention it. There is mention of an American trying to buy it.
calls him Zach Bagel Bites.
Yeah. I'm not. We used to be. We
are
so
their much easier.
Biggest number one fans. We steal everything from them, but we don't have them out.
Not there. Really. We just adore them. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't. So I don't steal. I haven't listened to y'all in a while. So.
It's been 84 years.
It's been 7 scores and 4 years. But either way, miss y'all. Hope you like. Hope you like the recreation of this story
because we love you.
They're like, we fucking hate it. It was all terrible. Anywho, but yeah, Tommy Earnshaw was really fucking done with people's asses touching this chair, and he said, "No ass shall ever touch this again." And so he put it in the basement, and he was like, "Done. Don't have to worry about this anymore." Except he does have to worry about it because the chair's not fucking done. No, this is too short. This is Kristen. We still have 2 more pages left. Come on. This chair, Mr. Thomas Busby. Please don't kill me because I'm getting. Please don't kill me because I'm getting your last name wrong, okay? It's hard to pronounce.
Oh, no. Don't sit in the chair, Kristen.
Oh, my gosh. No. Okay, I don't claim the negative energy that's coming from this episode. But he was not done. Not even in the slightest. So a bricklayer would be contracted later on after the chair was put into the basement to... I guess there was brick to be laid underneath in the basement. I don't know. But for whatever reason, he had to go down into the basement. So he goes down there and he notices the chair tucked away in the corner. And he's like, ooh, you looking mighty fine, girl. And so he sits his butt right down on it. Any person would, no problem. Except, like, there's not a fucking warning sign saying you're gonna fucking die if you sit on this chair. I don't know why you wouldn't put a note if you're gonna put it in the basement. But I don't know.
FYI,
I'm just
you will die.
Yeah, like, fine, whatever.
If you sit.
Like, a little post-it note would have done the job.
Something.
Anyhow, as soon as he was, done with sitting on the chair and done with the job, very much like a lot of people, like a lot of people having the same fate, but kind of fucked up fate, where he would go and he would be on a high surface and end up ultimately falling to his death, like not even 24 hours later.
Oh. Just like a lot of people.
Just like a lot of people. To give you something different, to spice it up a bit. So sorry, hun. There was a woman that was cleaning down in the basement. And again, like, didn't even sit on the chair. She was cleaning in the room and accidentally bumped into it. And as soon as she did, like, she was a cleaner at this place. She knew the legend. She knew the tale. Turned over. I'm so sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. Like, please. I didn't mean it. Nothing. No, the chair didn't give a fuck. Did not give a fuck. She would later die of a brain aneurysm, like, the following day.
Oh, no ma'am. No, sir. I will not succumb.
I'm like, is it the fucking... At first, I was like, it's for sure that negative thought shit that I've been talking about for the past few episodes, where it's like, you think yourself to death. But no, it's like some of these people, literally, like this next one. Okay, so in 1978, a delivery man makes the worst mistake of his fucking life. He goes in, he delivers some heavy ass items, and he goes it down to the cellar, and he sees this chair, and he thinks, oh, I just got done lifting some heavy items. I could use a break. He knows nothing about this curse, so what negative thought pattern is in his brain? Nothing. He sits in the chair. He even goes back up and tells the owner, damn, that was a pretty mighty fine comfy chair you had down there. It's so comfy that I actually think you need to, you shouldn't let it get all moldy,
you should put it
dusty,
in your
and crusty.
Room, girl.
You need to put that shit out in the daylight where people can use this. And the poor owner was just like, okay,
yeah, I'll see you
bye.
later.
I hope I see you tomorrow. And guess what? He fucking didn't. Because what happens a few hours after that delivery truck driver drives off, his fucking car veers off, crashes, and he fucking dies. Fucking dies. So even people that know nothing about this curse, have nothing to think with any negative mindset getting in their brainwaves, they're fucking dying. So, how do you explain that?
Right. What the fuck is the motive here, chair?
After our final victim died, Tony was really over it. He said, okay, putting in the basement isn't enough. After 275 years of living inside of this inn, it is time that we rehome this chair.
Okay.
So Tony
was
was
a good idea.
It is. No, I mean, I don't want a lawsuit on my hands, but Tony was able to donate the chair to Thirsk Museum in North Yorkshire, England, where, from what I read, I believe to this day it currently resides. It was nailed 5 feet above the ground, 5 to 6 feet above the ground of this museum, in order to avoid anyone accidentally sitting in the chair. Though we'll get into why I may think that that's weird in a second. To this day, workers will still ask people if they are allowed to sit in the chair, seemingly unafraid of the certain death that they will probably face if they do, according to what has been said in history. But each time it is a firm no from this museum. And they have turned down quite, like, some large offers. There was one American, like I was kind of saying beforehand, that went as far as offering $1 million for this chair before ultimately being turned down by the museum. There would also be a Japanese film crew that would threaten suing the museum if they did not allow them to sit in this chair.
Let me sit down.
Almost gonna sew. Thankfully, there was really no ground that I think, like, these people could step on to where they could successfully sue the museum.
Right.
And when their veiled threats of, like, oh, we're gonna sue didn't work, they basically asked, well, what's the worst penalty that can happen to us if we sit on this chair without y'all's permission? And they simply replied, death. Death would be your penalty if you sit in this chair. Yeah, damn slut.
Jump in. You want to go deathing with me?
As for Busby Stoop Inn, it did remain open for quite some time. I want to say maybe until like 2012-ish. Maybe sooner, maybe later. I don't really know. But like sometime around that time, it was closed for good. But now it is a Indian restaurant by the name of Jaipur Spice.
Oh.
Now, it is said to be very haunted.
Okay. I was like, okay, there's got to be more than good food here.
I really couldn't find any hauntings of, like, Jaipur Spice, you know? I mean,
like, I was eating dinner and
my curry came with a side of ghost. It's just like, no, I couldn't find anything like that. Though I did find, like, there was a lot of talk about Thomas having his ghost around the gibbet where he was hung, and, you know, like, they would see his ghost with a noose around his neck. I do believe that M. Schultz had said that there was a instance where one of the previous inn owners talked about seeing a figure, like, without a face and without any arms that would, like, float around the inn.
No.
So, yeah.
No.
Immediately burning the building down, but they still keep it open for whatever reason. Tourist attraction shit, you know, go capitalism, go. So, one of the interesting things, though, that I will end off on, and really might throw a big kafooey on this whole story, but I am a non-biased girl, and that's what you're going to get here, is the truth and nothing but the truth to the extent of what I Google. So, furniture...
like, hands on
the
what
Google.
What do we swear on here?
So you swear on Google.
Okay.
Swear
I guess
on...
I can get Google to lay down with that.
No, I swear on my search engine that I am up to no good.
I agree.
I wholeheartedly stick to that.
I wholeheartedly agree.
But according to my search engine, I did find didn't even know we had these. There are furniture experts out in the world that can, like, look at a piece of furniture and tell you some really interesting shit about it. So Doctor of Furniture, Adam Bowett, was able to take a look at the chair that was originally brought to the Thirsk Museum and give quite a shocking discovery that he made about this chair. Apparently, the wooden structure used was said to be this structure that, like, one, I didn't write down, and two, I couldn't even pronounce. If I wrote down, it's like charcuterie. It's not that. It's like chakari. It's some type of wood structure that basically wasn't made until the year 1840. And that's what he guessed this chair at being made at, around 1840, which is some 138 years after Busby was executed.
Oh.
Now, in my research, I also did find another rumor that Tony, the owner of the inn, before donating the cursed chair to the museum, burned the real chair before giving the museum a fake one. Now, I think that there may be some truth to this, because if you're telling me that some cleaning lady accidentally knocked into a chair and got a fucking brain aneurysm, but there were a group of people that nailed chipping the fine wood in the legs of Mr. Thomas Busby's chair some 5 feet up above the ground and didn't get any consequence to this, sketchy. The museum should have at least killed one of the co-workers to make the story blend. It's just...
Right.
Something to think about.
See, that's like what I thought about when I talked about the Hope Diamond. Mm-hmm. Because the last death I associated with the Hope Diamond was a delivery boy. Yeah. Or delivery man.
So you would think that with
so
this,
you'd think like years prior when it was getting transferred from royalty to who knows, like to being stolen or whatever, you'd think all of those people would have died. And who knows, maybe it's undocumented, but whatever.
Or maybe it's like, you know, the cursed item picks who it wants, but it's just like you have this chair being a real petty ass bitch to some people who don't even like mean to be petty or like disrespectful to this chair.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, I said pardon moi.
Yeah, and now you have some people literally putting nails in your favorite chair and you're not going to off them.
Right. Like,
suspicious.
Okay, that's a little sus.
Suspicious. I mean, I'm not saying kill someone, but I'm saying maybe if there was a time to kill someone, Thomas Busby, you could have done it then. Made it a little bit more interessante. But either way, I mean, that's my story. That's my tale. That is a very cursed chair that my ass will never be touching, nor would I ever want it to touch, because I'm like, I don't believe in ghosts. Maybe I don't have like definitive proof of it, so you know it's up in the air, but this one was...
Be careful what you ask for, Bill.
Yeah, I don't want to know. I'm okay not knowing, you know, ignorance is bliss. Ghosties, you don't have to contact with me. I'm okay.
All I can tell you is that I'm sitting on a chair and she seems lovely.
You know what? I think this is my favorite chair, and I think if anyone sits on it, they may in fact die.
No, but jokes aside, Kristen, thank you for your story. And I thought I was going to remember what you were talking about, but I didn't exactly. Like, it wasn't what popped to my mind. So thank you for reintroducing, because I've definitely listened to, and that's why we drinks earlier episodes, not the recent ones, but the earlier and almost all of them. Anyways, I thought I would remember it, but I didn't, so thank you. It was a nice reintroduction.
I hope I did not insult you, and that's why we drink. And also go check out their episode. I am pretty sure it's episode 12. I'm gonna have to link it because I used it as a source. It's gonna be down below. But it definitely, they don't need any media help from us. But yeah, their episode was definitely great. And again, they're what got me into the true crime podcast game. So it's always fun and interesting to do a case like this, coming from it being from someone who, you know, I look up to. But that's fucking spooky ooky dooky. I don't really know what to think of it, and yeah, it definitely has me not wanting to sit in chairs for a while, even though I'm currently sitting in one now. I'm definitely, you know, should I be scared? I don't know. Find out next episode. Find out the answer next episode, guys. But until then, be sure to like, comment, subscribe.
At RARW Podcast.
And send us an email if you want to hear a certain topic.
If
and
you're feeling lonely.
Yeah, if you just want to say hi, because, you know.
Red Rum and Red Wine Podcast at gmail.com.
Peace.